Milk. She's a business major with a concentration in marketing and management. William Stoltz is our graphic designer, and my name is Caitlin Karsha. I'm a computer science major. I belong to a computer science research lab here at the university, and over the past 3 years, I've had the opportunity to work with local schools in integrating technology into science education. And I've been so amazed to see how engaged students are using technology to learn science, how well they make connections between what they're learning in the classroom and what they're learning using the technology, and how teachers are very impressed by the results. But when we ask teachers how often they use technology in the classroom, they often say they don't, and that's what brings us here today. Teachers struggle to integrate technology into education for two main reasons. The first reason is teachers have limited time because they have to abide by very strict curriculum standards. Recently, Massachusetts just adopted Common Core standards, and Gallup poll reports that 78% of approximately 900 teachers feel Common Core takes too much time away from teaching. The second problem is that students, especially in low socioeconomic areas, don't have access to computers. According to a study conducted by Georgia Tech, among families who make income of less than $30,000, 59% have access to a computer at home, where 75% have access to mobile phones. We spoke to Dr. McLean, assistant principal at Bartlett Middle School in Lowell, Massachusetts, who supports this claim and says that students in his school are more likely to have mobile phones, but finding educational software with a mobile component can be very challenging. So as a result, teachers only use technology in the classroom about 40% of the time. And why does this matter? Why do we care? We care because technology changes the way students learn. It allows science students to critically and thoughtfully collect data and reach higher learning goals. According to IBIS World, educational software falls in the other category of the software publishing industry at about 19%. However, this is a growing sector of the market, which is excellent for new entrants. We've identified 5 key characteristics that science software needs to have for science teachers and science students to be successful, and we've listed them here. They have to do with advancing classroom workflow, being user-friendly, being accessible to all students, and being focused for science teachers and for science students. And when we look at our competitors, NGrade, a learning management tool, Cast Science Writer, a lab report software, and Google Docs, a web-based word processor, we see that they're falling short. They're not satisfying all 5 of these characteristics. But the solution that we propose, Early Birds, aims to satisfy all 5. Early Birds is a website and mobile application that allows students to write science lab reports. The website currently exists as a prototype, and we will demo that for you now. Teachers can create accounts on the website, and when they create accounts, they can create assignments. With every assignment, they have an assignment code, and that's what they'll distribute to students. Students then use that assignment code to gain access to the website and enter their name to begin the lab report. Then students work directly on the website to complete the lab report. So as you can see, there are hints at the bottom guiding them through the process, and their work is automatically saved for them. When students submit their work, they're able to see it as their teacher will be able to. And then finally completing the student-teacher connection, teachers can then log back onto their account and view their lab report. So over the next year, we would like to pilot this project in approximately 10 to 12 local schools, and we'd like to join Learn Launch, an EdTech accelerator in Boston, to make connections and to better understand our marketplace. And in order to accomplish these goals, we're asking for approximately $4,500 in funding and your support to succeed. So at this point, we'd like to thank you for your time. The software is actually available for you to demo on a Chromebook if you'd like, and we'll answer any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
So lab reports often include some kind of graphical content. You build a chart or a graph or a picture or use of colors and things like that. How do you do that?
So great question. There are actually a lot of APIs that exist on the web right now. I'm thinking of one in particular, high charts, that allows you to build in graphing tools directly into websites. I actually work in the computer science research lab. We build a graphing tool for students, so definitely in the future we'd love to expand to add that to be part of the lab reports.
So did you said the access was you give them an assignment access code, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, why wouldn't you have just a username or so a kid doesn't have to remember the code?
Awesome question. So one of the things that we found with teachers in upper elementary schools, such as 5th grade and middle school, they don't want students to have to manage accounts. And a lot of the times students that young don't have emails. So in order to avoid that process and not require account management, we just have this simple assignment code that their teacher will be able to provide to them in the class, bring that home, and that's all they need to gain access.
Is it folks mind if I ask another question?
Sure, go ahead.
So in the past, like McGraw-Hill and Oxford University Press have been clients of mine, so we built online tools for those organizations. And they have a very large objective and goal to associate tools like this with their workbook, with their textbooks, right? Because then they can sell those textbooks. And you mentioned that you would like the support of someone like McGraw-Hill. Why? It seems that you may be facing a very large challenge, and if you're not selling it to them, it sounds like you're kind of selling against them, like, oh, use early birds, as opposed to the workbook, because they want to sell their online workbooks, because that's how they make money, and that's how they avoid me buying a used book from you for $10 as opposed to $50. So, how much of your focus is on selling to those publishers and integrating your tool with those publishers' textbooks?
So I think one of the big things that I've talked about joining Learn Launch, this EdTech accelerator in Boston, we want to learn more about the marketplace. We want to learn more about what companies like McGraw-Hill want, and we're definitely open to making changes to the software. In the first year, part of our goal is to improve it to meet teachers' needs and to meet needs that these software companies would like. So if that is actually something that they'd like, we would definitely be open and willing to modify the software to reflect that.
So this is designed to be distributed mostly over mobile platforms. Is the intent that the kids will do the whole report right on their mobile device, or how do you think of? Is that what you found in customer discovery? Is that the students will use their phone to do a lab report?
So basically, right now the website exists, and it will exist as a website and mobile application. So students will have the choice. Students with computers will be able to complete their lab reports on the computer, whereas students with mobile phones will have the option to go on the application and complete their lab report then. So this doesn't limit teachers from assigning work that has to do with the software. And especially since I mentioned that we talk to a lot of principals and teachers that teach in low SES areas, they say that their students are more likely to have smartphones, but finding that software that allows that mobile component is really challenging.
So do you have an app built now? Is it like a Google app that you can download for Android, or is that to be developed in the future?
That's definitely to be developed in the future. We want to pilot the website, get feedback on that, really build it to what science teachers, science students need, develop more of a sense of the marketplace, and then from there expand to also building a mobile application.
What's the price, and who's your target? I mean, are you trying to target, say, a superintendent or something like that, and getting him to buy into this, or is it individual teachers that you'd be?
So I think we thought about a couple different strategies. One of them is selling it directly to teachers, which at first might seem confusing because teachers don't make a lot of money. But as it turns out, on a website called teacherswallets.com, teachers are willing to spend money on software that makes their lives easier. So that is one strategy, and according to the National Science Teachers Association, I think there's approximately 300,000 science teachers in the US that are associated with them. So even if we sold it to 10% of them, maybe at $100 per year, that'd be one way we could generate revenue. The next idea that we had would be selling it to districts. And of course, the thing with districts, though, is really we need to test it first and then be able to contact districts, see how they buy software, but we realized that process could be slow because with any school district, it's challenging. And really, ideally, the third is obtaining some type of contract with another company like McGraw-Hill would be ideal. And part of that, we kind of got our inspiration from a company called Desmos, and they build an online TI graphing calculator, and their software is integrated into textbooks. But really, what we feel right now is we need to refine and improve our strategies for selling, and the way we want to do that is join, learn, launch, to get a better sense of our market, to make connections, see what other people are doing, just because we know the educational market can be challenging to enter.
I'd like to follow up on Andrew's question. So Andrew talked about an app. Would you start off with a website with responsive design, and then that's really expensive, right? And then you would move to an application later?
Yes.
One of the things to consider is when you get to the point where you say, oh, I've got a couple hundred, a couple thousand, whatever your goal is, users, if you create an application, if you give it away for free, two things are going to happen. You're automatically going to have a profile for someone. So Glenn Morgan types in, I'm getting this from my kid, or my kid's getting it, I'm getting it for myself as a student. So you could assign me to either a school or to a teacher, and then you build up your base. Because when you go to someone like McGraw-Hill or a publishing company, they're not going to care if you say I made $10,000, but they're going to care, oh, you gave away 20,000. You have 20,000 users, that's interesting. Because then you can start to collect data on their usage. And so that's just a strategy to consider. When you get to an app, start giving it away for free, because a publishing house isn't going to care that you made $100,000. You will, because you'll be pumped because you can pay your rent. But if you really want to sell this to them, they're going to be much more interested in your client base and the experience of using that.
Awesome. Oh, that's really great to know that.
I'm going to be devil's advocate a little bit. Question on, so when you walk through the demo, it seemed very much like there's some prompts and fields of text. It's a text field to enter text. So what would be the difference between what's the added benefit of that versus a teacher saying, here's your handout that has the prompts and so that everybody gets the same prompts, and go on your Google Docs and use that template and just fill it in if it's mostly text. What are the advantages of the teacher for using this, other than it's a then they get it all in one place versus going onto Google Docs?
So one of the things that teachers we spoke to who use Google will say that it has more than anything they could want, but sometimes not exactly what they need, because it's not built specifically for teachers. And with assignments like this, you're not getting a blank slate. So a student doing a lab report is not going to go into Google Docs and just have a blank sheet. There's designated sections that assist them through the process. There are hints along the way. Their work is automatically saved like Google Docs, yes, but then there's this aspect of it automatically being shared with teachers. So with Google Docs, you have to explicitly share a document with someone else. So, for example, if a student's working on something, they have to share it with the teacher for that teacher to gain access, and that's not the case here. And one of the teachers we spoke to, she was an art teacher in New York, say that it's often frustrating for her because students forget that extra step to share it with her, and she'd like something where it's kind of built-in functionality.
Just a follow-up as for managing accounts. So kids that will have to sign in, not to use a password. How would you using a password? So privacy and hacking and bullying and stuff like that. How are you going to make sure that other kids get into their neighbors' homework? As the teachers distributing passwords and login stuff individually to kids, or how do you envision that?
That's a great question. So that's something that we are still in the process of developing, because right now it is a universal password. So students can have the opportunity to log in to another student's sort of report. But one thing we can do is restrict access so that students don't have the opportunity to go back later and work on their assignments. Maybe we can add a layer of account management, as I mentioned before. It's tricky building software for students, making it usable for them. And this is really something that we hope to learn in the next year, so we can really refine it so that it is secure, but it's still usable and intuitive for children.
Good, thank you.
I think Mike's question is really important. Just because it's tricky, you should not poo-poo that, because
Oh, of course.
no one's gonna be interested.
Mhm.
And yet, if you think about profile management,
Mhm.
it's not difficult, because a teacher would set something up and say, I have 50 students, they're the students, they would have access. And you can set it up so they can only access their own information.
Mhm.
So it's not like a technical hurdle,
Mhm.
but I think if you gave the answer to an investor or a school district that you just gave to Mike, they would say like, oh gosh, this isn't a match.
Mhm.
So you have to think about that.
Yes.
And so a slightly different question, how fungible, how changeable is it? So if I'm a teacher, can I change something or create my own assignments? You know, is that different than what Andrew as a teacher could do or Mike could do? Or is it one tool for everyone?
Currently, it's one tool for everyone, but in future iterations, we would like to add some custom features to it so that teachers are able to specifically go in and make assignments that are catered to their work that they're doing.
When you pitch this to school districts or publishers, you may want to consider that for every assignment, the teacher is given the opportunity to have like a minute video, because one of the most popular uses on a mobile device is video. And so you could be like, hi, this is Glenn Morgan, your assignment today is find the area of the following 3 squares. There, here's how I want you to think about it. We talked about this in class. You're allowed to participate with friends, your assignment code is 1, 2, 3. And then the teacher could customize something. And also the parents, either parent, could be like, oh, okay, I understand what you're doing. So it's a very user-friendly thing to consider doing. And then in terms, you can use something like Discus, which, for commenting, and that's like a third-party tool that exists. So you could decide to allow, like Boston.com uses Discus or something like that, WGH uses Discus. You could use that to allow students to participate, like giving the teacher an option to say, you can turn comments on or off. Because maybe I don't know how to do it, and I say, Andrew, I see you're online, right? Like on Facebook, there's a green dot. Do you know how to do this? I missed class today, I'm confused, and maybe you could say, like, here's the form. So there are like a couple of really quick things you could do, I think, to like get a publisher interested fast.
Definitely, and I know that teachers even said that they want to use the software to communicate with their students on demand. So having that system of comments going back and forth is definitely something in the future we'd love to implement within the next year.
We have to end here. So the next thing is going to come in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.